As Christians, we sometimes wonder if it's okay to watch scary movies. The Bible doesn't give us a direct yes or no answer, but it does offer wisdom on what we should focus our minds on. We're encouraged to think about things that are good, pure, and uplifting, things that bring peace, not fear. Scary movies often dive into darkness and fear, which can easily stick in our minds and hearts. Imagine trying to focus on God's peace while your mind is filled with images of horror. It's a bit like planting a garden and then dumping a load of weeds on top of it. The good stuff can't grow when the bad stuff is taking over. Now, some might say, it's just a movie, it won't affect me. But let's be real, what we watch, hear, and think about shapes us. If we keep filling our minds with scary, negative things, it's going to affect how we feel and how we live. Sure, it might not be a sin to watch a scary movie, but we have to ask ourselves, is it really helping us become the people God wants us to be? Are we choosing what's good for our souls, or are we just giving ourselves excuses to indulge in something that might not be so great? Think about this. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love. When we fill our minds with fear, we're letting something in that God never intended for us. And what happens when you fill a room with darkness? It takes over, and the light struggles to shine. The same goes for our hearts and minds. What we let in has a big impact on us. Here's another thing to consider. Jesus taught us that what we focus on with our eyes affects our entire being. If we're constantly feeding on things that are dark and evil, we shouldn't be surprised when we feel overwhelmed by negativity or fear. It's like trying to live in a house with dirty windows. Everything outside looks dim and unclear. But when we focus on what is good and pure, our lives are filled with light and clarity. We also need to remember that the choices we make, no matter how small they seem, add up over time. Watching one scary movie might not seem like a big deal, but if we keep making choices that invite fear and negativity into our lives, it can start to change how we see the world, and even how we relate to God. Just like it says in that verse about being an ambassador in bonds, we are called to represent Christ boldly, not giving in to things that might weaken our faith or bring us down. So, the next time you're about to hit play on that scary movie, ask yourself, is this helping me grow closer to God, or am I just making excuses to do something that might not be the best for me? Remember, just because something isn't outright wrong doesn't mean it's good for you. Let's choose to fill our lives with what uplifts, what brings peace, and what draws us closer to God's light. After all, our minds are a gift from God, and what we allow into them matters. Let's guard them well and choose wisely, so we can live in the fullness of God's love and light.